Fasten your seatbelt. I am taking you for the ride of your life. I'm going to show you what this car can really do. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Hang on.
Okay.
Here we go.
Hold on to your butts.
Go get him, kid.
It might be a tumor.
It's not a tumor. Not a tumor at all.
As if you're going to ask me. So you can go ahead and ask me what you're going to ask me. And my natural response could be to get offended.
Hey, want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
All right.
You're listening to the 30-something movie podcast. One movie each week, 30 years in the making.
It is the 30-something movie podcast. I am your host, John Reed. I have with me Patrick Canigallo. Patrick, how you doing?
Doing well, John. How are you doing?
Excellent. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Large reactor leak. Give me a second to lock it down.
It's large leak, very dangerous.
Large leak, very dangerous.
I said that when I was in charge of our tech support team in the school district. I said that a couple of times, and sadly, nobody knew what I was talking about.
Yeah, that's need to.
And granted, during pandemic times and remote learning, not a whole lot of senses of humor.
No, you just gotta have. Well, you know what? You gotta have senses of humor. That's kind of what helps get you through.
You gotta kind of have a little fun with it, even when everything's on fire around you.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah. That's the time to be having fun.
That's the time to make fun of things.
Gotta coach them up a little bit.
Yeah.
Coach them up.
Yeah. All right. Well, this episode we are talking about the Jeff Bridges, Robin Williams, Terry Gilliam movie, The Fisher King. We spoil freely here, so this is your one and only warning. We are also members of the Scene Stealers Podcast Network. If you want to go check them out, Scene Stealers International Convention Agent. They have a ton of movie, TV, sports, I think some TikTok celebrities, I think some cosplayers, all kinds of other stuff. If you want to get people in, if you're organizing or if you're part of an organization that is running a convention or any kind of an event like that, and you want to get some celebrities in there, go ahead and reach out to them. They're at scenestealersglobal.com. They have got a bunch of people from the TV show Cobra Kai. They have some folks from The Sopranos. They have some folks from the Back to the Future movies. They've got, I did notice they have Robert Davi from Die Hard and The Goonies and License to Kill.
Oh.
They have got, a bunch of Cobra Kai folks on here. They have John Schneider, who was on the Dukes of Hazzard and Smallville.
Yeah.
They've got some Goodfellas folks. They've got several Karate Kid people, Adventures in Babysitting, Never Ending Story, one of Pat's favorite movies of all time.
It's great.
And then Big Trouble in Little China, several people from that one. So go check them out. Caddyshack, I think there's at least one or two people from Caddyshack on there. So go check them out. scenestealersglobal.com if you're looking for some celebrities for your event. And then when you're done checking them out, you can come check out a bunch of, let's call us local celebrities.
Local celebrities.
Now, granted, I am also big in Georgia, but
that's it.
Mostly local celebrities.
I'm a legend in my own mind, so There you go.
All right. So then you can go check out some local celebrities at 30podcast.com would be our website, where you can leave a rating, leave a voicemail, leave a PlayStation 5 for Pat if you've got one just laying around that you're not using. And you're willing to give it away as a tax write-off. And then you can become a co-executive producer with us via Patreon, so you can get access to all the special episodes that we put out over there for our Patreon subscribers. Any level of support gets you access to those bonus episodes, but there are also some other levels where you can either tell us what movie to watch and talk about, you can join us on the show, you can just provide some moral support, where we give you a shout-out. We put your name on our patrons page of our website that we have. If you have your own podcast, we'll give you a shout out for that too, and help get you some advertising there. But we've got all kinds of different levels that you can join us at on Patreon, but any level at all, even the lowest level of that's possible on there, you get access to those bonus episodes. So go check us out on there if that's something that you are interested in supporting. We thank you so much for all the supporters that we've got over there who have been with us for a while now, and just thank you so much for just the ways that you show your appreciation for the show, and we hope that we are making a show that continues to get better and that you enjoy week in and week out. So thank you so much to all of our Patreon co-executive producers.
Agreed.
All right, so let's see, I don't know if we have anything else to talk about. I think we can probably just jump right on into the movie there, Pat.
I think it's movie time.
Movie time. All right, movie time. This one is The Fisher King. It came out on the 27th of September, 1991, rated R, for a few obvious reasons. I mean, in Central Park, you do get to see Robin and his Williams. So it is rated R. Runtime of 2 hours and 17 minutes. Directed by Terry Gilliam, who also did Monty Python and the Holy Grail and 12 Monkeys. Producers were Deborah Hill, who died in 2005, and Linda Obst. Hill also produced the 1978, the original Halloween movie, as well as Escape from New York. Obst did Adventures in Babysitting and Interstellar. Writer for this one was Richard LaGravenese. He also did Freedom Writers and Behind the Candelabra. Cinematography was done by Roger Pratt, who also did 12 Monkeys and the 1989 Batman. Editor was Leslie Walker, who did Emma and Mamma Mia. Music was done by George Fenton, who did Groundhog Day and Ever After, A Cinderella Story. Budget on this one was $24 million. Box office was $41.9 million. So actually did do a pretty decent job at the box office. Flick Metrics, which combines Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and Letterboxd, gives this as a 75%. Cinema Score gives it a B+. Starring Jeff Bridges as Jack. He was in The Big Lebowski and the 2010 True Grit. Robin Williams, who died in 2014, plays Parry. He was in Good Will Hunting and Patch Adams. Mercedes Ruehl, who played Anne. She was in Big and The Secret of My Success. Amanda Plummer played Lydia. She was in Pulp Fiction and The Prophecy. David Hyde Pierce played Lou, the agent. He was in Frasier and A Bug's Life. Ted Ross, who died in 2002, played the limo bum. He was in Arthur and Police Academy. Kathy Najimy played the crazed video customer. She was in Sister Act and King of the Hill. Harry Shearer played the sitcom actor Ben Starr. Forgive me. He was in The Simpsons and This Is Spinal Tap. Michael Jeter, who died in 2003, played the homeless cabaret singer. He was in a TV series called Evening Shade and the movie The Green Mile. And John Delancey was a TV executive, and he was in Star Trek as Q in several different Star Trek series and the movie Multiplicity with Michael Keaton. After shock jock Jack Lucas inadvertently provokes a caller into murdering a group of innocent people in a Manhattan bar, he grows depressed and turns to booze. As he's about to hit rock bottom, Lucas meets a homeless man named Parry, whose wife was killed by the caller Lucas pushed to the brink. Mentally scarred by his loss, Parry spends his days searching for the Holy Grail. Lucas, feeling culpable for the poor man's plight, pledges to help him in his quest.
Okay, Jack, we're on the air in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, it's Monday morning, and I'm Jack Lucas.
In the world of talk radio, Jack Lucas was king.
Look, I said I want an offer they can forget it.
To stay on top, he did whatever he had to.
Forgive me!
But one day, Jack went too far.
It was Mr. Lucas's offhand remark that seemed to have fatal impact on Mr. Melnick.
No matter what I have, it feels like I have nothing.
Yo, what's going on?
And just when he was about to give up on his own life, he stumbled into Parry's.
Unhand that degenerate and remove your presence! I like New York in June. How about you?
You know who I am?
A hood ornament.
No. I'm a knight on a special quest.
A quest?
And I need help.
You're out of your mind! Yes!
Now, Jack has to do something he's never done before.
Isn't she a vision? I'm deeply smitten.
Help someone else.
I thought
that if I could get him this girl that he loves, things would change for me.
Let's do it right here. Let's go to that place out yonder in the grass.
And this is Parry.
Parry.
No, just Perry.
Ah, like Moses.
I think they were made for each other. Scary, but true.
Sometimes, to find yourself,
I'm the janitor of God. Find some pretty wonderful things in the trash.
you have to risk it all.
Bingo!
I'm not doing that.
Robin Williams, Jeff Bridges, The Fisher King.
I love this guy!
Maybe hug me in public again.
All right. So our typical first question, is this the first time you've ever seen this movie, and how does this movie make you feel?
Yes. And I wanted to say sad, but no, not sad. Yeah. The movie, yeah, overall it made me feel sad, but then the happy ending was heartwarming. But I was sad watching this movie.
Okay.
What about you?
For me, this is not the first time I've seen this one. I've seen this one probably 3 or 4 times.
All right.
So this is probably maybe the 4th time I've seen this one. This was, and even before he passed away, but there would be some times where I would kind of get onto like a kick of, I'm going to watch a bunch of Hitchcock movies all at once. I'm going to watch a bunch of Harrison Ford movies all at once. I'm going to watch a bunch of Robin Williams movies all at once. And I want to say the first time I caught this one was when I was in college, and I know I've talked about it before. We had the VHS rental place that just had tons and tons of movies that you really wouldn't find anywhere else. And I know I had seen this one before. I had heard this one before, at other video stores or in other lists of Robin Williams movies and things like that. But up until I was in college and I was doing one of those weekends of, let me throw down $5 and rent 10 movies. And I think it was one of those stretches where I was like, let me just rent a whole bunch of Robin Williams movies, and I'm going to take them home. I'm going to watch them. And the first time I watched this movie, I'm not sure if I completely knew what was going on.
Okay.
I'm not sure if my movie palette was quite sophisticated enough to fully understand Terry Gilliam and his non Monty Python movies.
Okay.
And so I was like, all right, that movie was cool, but I think I have to watch it again.
Okay.
So I think it took a couple of viewings until I really kind of got to, the point where I was like, okay, I know what's going on now. Like I got a pretty good sense of this, and I like this movie. So that's a long-winded way of saying what's my one word or short phrase of how this movie makes me feel. This movie makes me feel, I like New York this movie makes me feel happy that I get to see Robin Williams in one of his best performances.
Okay. Yeah.
Like I enjoy this movie. This movie is weird and quirky, but I enjoy it every time I've watched it.
I got it.
So
now, when you were saying trying to figure out what was going on, is it basically what the plot is that we're going to like explore in the podcast and everything? And you were just like, okay, what's happening here? Or was it like a deeper meaning? Like, hey, this is really what this movie is trying to say. And it took you a couple viewings to figure out like what the movie was trying to say.
I mean, the basic plot, I mean, I got the idea of that. It was, you've got the shock jock who, took things a little bit too far. And, his life has kind of been screwed up because of what he did. And then you've got the story of Robin Williams, and his life is messed up because his wife is one of the ones that got killed when the gunman came through the Manhattan bar. And so that piece of it and understanding, it's taken me a little while. I was like, why does he need this this holy grail that's inside this like castle mansion that's in the middle of the city. Why does he need that? Like, I don't understand that part. And just some of the motivations behind parts of the story. When I watched it the first time, I was like, I'm not sure. Like, I'm having fun watching this because I'm having fun watching Jeff Bridges and Robin Williams, and and it's a weird movie, and it's got the weird camera angles that Terry Gilliam is known for, and but I'm not 100% sure like what is going on here.
Right.
For the most part, I mean, the story is fairly straightforward, and the relationships between the characters, those are all interesting and good, and all that. Some of it was the deeper meaning, like what is this Red Knight supposed to be? That one I felt was pretty obvious the first time I watched it, but there were some other. I think there were probably some other bits and pieces here and there that I was like, I'm not sure yet what this is supposed to mean.
Right.
I know it's supposed to mean something, but I'm not 100% sure yet what it is supposed to mean. And it took me a couple of viewings until I was like, oh, okay. I get it now. I got it.
Understood.
So I mean, we've talked a little bit about it. We've danced around it a little bit. The basic premise of the movie is that Jack, took things a little bit too far with one of his callers, was not careful with it, and several people were killed when this person went on a shooting rampage in New York City. And so he is now, he has dropped out of the public eye. He is living with his girlfriend, working in a video store. He is not anywhere near as successful or well-known or anything as what he used to be. And as he's stumbling around drunk one night, he starts to get attacked by some probably 20-somethings. They seem like either college age or young 20-somethings are out. Apparently, have you ever seen the Purge movies?
Yes,
okay.
Or no, but I've heard of them.
Okay, so apparently these guys were wanting to start the Purge way before the Purge ever started, and killing homeless people.
Right.
So
right.
So that was he is going to be attacked by them, and Parry, which is Robin Williams, comes to his rescue and rescues him with a combination of weaponry and singing.
Yes.
And then from there, they kind of befriend each other, but it's very reluctant on Jack's part until he finds out that the reason why Parry is the way he is because his wife was shotgunned right in front of him. And so then Jack realizes that he is somewhat responsible for what happened to Parry and decides to try to help him out.
Does Parry recognize him? Because there is a line when he goes, "I know who you are, Jack," or whatever his name is. Does he know him as the talk show guy was that just a, "Hey, I know who you are," and it was just kind of a superficial comment, if you will?
Yeah, I don't know. That one I'm still not sure of. If Parry knows exactly who he is and how he's connected to why things are the way they are for him.
Yeah, it kept you guessing.
Yeah. So that one, that part I'm not sure.
Got it.
So, but watching it this time around, there were some things that I caught on to that I had noticed in the past, but times where I was just watching it for fun, I wasn't watching it maybe as closely as we might do for, watching it for the podcast. One of the things I really liked, seeing this time, and I did notice it before the other times too, is when he is at his, and I'm using quote fingers for those people who can't see it, when he is at his most successful, when he's working on his radio show, whether that's at the beginning of the movie or then again at the end of the movie, when he's back and he's got his job back again, the way that whole thing is lit when he's in that little recording booth is it makes it look like he's in a prison cell. I don't know if you noticed that with some of the lighting. Is like it's very dark, but the way it's lit, it actually looks like there's bars on all the walls around him.
I didn't notice that. I noticed the different lighting, but I didn't notice specifically what you're describing. I shall on a rewatch. I'm going to be looking for that.
Yeah, it makes it look like he's in a cage or a prison cell of some kind. Because it's kind of a dark, kind of black, grayish room anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought that part was kind of interesting, and Terry Gilliam, Terry Gilliam is really good about, how he lights his movies and, using odd camera angles to good effect. And he's a quirky, unique filmmaker to begin with, having started with Monty Python and all that stuff. But we've done several Terry Gilliam movies on the podcast before. So this is not our first go around with his movies. We did let's see, one of the first ones we did, I think, was Brazil. And then we've also done, what else have we done? We've done the Adventures of Baron Munchausen. I'm trying to think what else we've done of his on the podcast. That might be it. Might actually just be those two.
Yeah, I think that's it for the podcast.
Yeah, because Time Bandits was too early for us to have done that one on the show. Let's see. Yeah, we haven't done any of the Monty Pythons. We didn't do Holy Grail. We didn't do Meaning of Life. Yeah, so it would have been Brazil, Adventures of Baron Munchausen, and this one, The Fisher King. And then as we go on, I'm sure, well, I know for a fact because I love that movie. When we get to 95, that'll actually be his next movie. So it'll be a few more years. He did 12 Monkeys. And then after that, in 98, he did Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
I have seen 12 Monkeys. I have not seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Okay. So it's once you've seen a Terry Gilliam movie, you can pretty much, if another movie comes on, if it follows, if it's got some of the same camera work and lighting and kind of characters similar to that, you could probably pick it out and be like, oh yeah, that's I can tell pretty much right now that's either Terry Gilliam or somebody that really likes Terry Gilliam. Because they're all very similar.
Right.
So, and that worked well for this movie because part of this movie is about, the varying degrees of people's mental state. And, he uses the camera and he uses the lighting and he uses the scenery to kind of affect all that. And, I think he's, for a topic like this and for characters that are dealing with some of these issues, this is the director that you want if you want to show that things are just slightly askew or sometimes not as slightly.
So what was his message in this movie? Was it just a story and these characters were just used in the story, or was he trying to tell us something deeper?
I think he was trying to tell us something deeper. I'm curious to know what you think his message. What do you think this movie was about?
I think I need to rewatch it.
Okay.
To fully grasp that, but it seemed to be maybe about forgiveness, redemption, because the Jeff Bridges character, was clearly trying to be free of his guilt, right? And drinking and becoming a recluse didn't work. And so then he tried to buy his way out. Then he ended up just becoming friends with the guy and kind of helping him out. And then, then the very end, they were kind of like friends, but, and I'm just, like I said, if you heard me kind of my sigh, it was not that I think there was something wrong with the movie, but just my understanding is limited because I think I might have to see it more to pick more up on it. But that's kind of what I saw. I didn't see any statements on mental health beyond, hey, let's look at why someone ends up that way. And, a traumatic experience can do that. And boy, when he relived that shooting, that was horrific. That was just like, oh my gosh, to use our new soundboard, Stavik, that's extraordinary. What do you want to do next? Like when I saw that, I was like, I don't know what mental state I would be in if that happened to me. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I guess, but I mean, is that I'm thinking out loud. That's a deeper, is there a deeper message there? Or is that kind of message right on the surface? It's right there. Hey, a traumatic event will cause you to kind of cause a little bit, you know, of a rewiring, of a reframing of life, you know, and your perception of reality. But I didn't know if that was his message. I didn't find that very hidden or buried.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of right there. So anyways, you passed the question to me, so I'll volley it right back to you. That's kind of, as far as my understanding went of the movie. Are there any deeper things that a rock that I have left unturned?
I think you got it, because I think if I had to boil this movie down to, and there's multiple themes that are going on in this movie, but if I had to boil it down to what is this movie about, I think the main thing that this movie is about is it's about forgiveness. So, and that was the first thing you said, was, you know, it's forgiveness, it's redemption. You know, you're really looking at, I think, you know, I think when you talk about some of these like deeper feelings and kind of deeper messages of the movie, I think you're really looking at the idea of pathos and trying to, you know, the idea behind pathos is it's kind of like, you can sum that up by saying it's, you know, using emotions and inspiring kind of that kind of response. Pity, I think, is another way of saying pathos. Just trying to like get the audience to feel something, and you really get the emotions in this movie, and you get the emotions of needing or wanting or seeking forgiveness. You know, some is right on the nose. That whole, you know, supposed to be the tagline of the character he's going to play in the sitcom is, well, forgive me. And that's kind of a foreshadowing of, you know, what he's going to be looking for the rest of the movie from Jack's point of view. Is that he's looking for forgiveness. Like, not only did he cause this guy to go on this, you know, shooting rampage and kill all these people, but he is confronted with someone who is directly, psychologically damaged. Like, it didn't just kill his wife, it ripped away his entire personality. You know, and he's come face to face. He's rescued by this person. You know, he was about to end his own life, and then this person rescued him. And so now that's where he feels indebted to him for the rest of the movie as well. I got to make it up to him somehow. Maybe I can give him some cash. You know, not realizing that he doesn't care about cash. He's going to give that away to somebody who can use the cash. You know, he's like, what am I going to do with cash? You know, and so I think what you've got in the rest of the movie, and for each of these different situations, you know, particularly for the two male characters, I'm trying to think if forgiveness wise, I don't think that the female characters, I'm not thinking of Anne or Lydia as being as much looking for or needing forgiveness.
Right.
It's more Parry and Jack.
Yes.
And it's, you know, for Jack, the main one is what he did that brought about this shooting and the loss of his job and the death of Parry's wife and, you know, all this other stuff. But then as the movie goes on, he also realizes how much of a jerk, well, it takes him a while, but he realizes how much of a jerk he's been to Anne. You know, how he's kind of been just along for the ride with her. And, you know, she has those great scenes where she's yelling at him, you know, you know, I think he says something to her, well, you got something out of this too. And, you know, if you've been watching the movie, no, she didn't. And
I think she says as much. What did I get? What did I get out of this?
Yeah. She says, what did I get out of this that I couldn't have gotten from some no-name person any day of the week? You know, and so it really is, I mean, the main crux of the story is him looking for forgiveness, you know, looking for redemption. And I think for Parry, it comes down to, I almost even don't want to call it forgiveness, but there is that great line, and I know we're kind of jumping around a little bit. I'm kind of jumping almost all the way to the end of the movie. And there's that great line where Parry, you know, was catatonic the second time after he had gotten beat up. And Jack goes out and steals the grail for him, brings it back to him. And Jack, you know, pretends to be asleep in the chair. And Parry wakes up, walks over to him and says, I had this dream, Jack. I was married. I was married to a beautiful woman, and you were there too. And then he kind of pauses for a second. I really miss her, Jack. Is that okay? Can I miss her now? And then he pauses again and just says, thank you. You know, Jack never says anything. But I think for Parry, some of it is if he feels guilty that he couldn't save his wife, even though there's nothing he could have done. You know, maybe he feels guilt that, well, it could be survivor's guilt. It could be that he just feels guilty that he's alive and she's not. You know, and in this, I think they said it's been a year since all this happened. And in this year, since he's had this mental break, you know, at some point he has been following around Lydia and kind of watching her, and he's kind of fallen in love with her. And I think some of that too is maybe asking his wife for forgiveness that he's wanting to move on and, you know, and start something with someone new. So I think for him, it's that kind of forgiveness, but I love that scene. That's, you know, that scene is one of the most heart-wrenching scenes in the entire movie, is when he's having that own little conversation with himself. He's talking to Jack, but you know, he's talking basically to himself because nobody else is answering. And it's that whole scene of, you know, I had this dream and I was married to a beautiful woman. I really miss her, Jack. Is that okay? Can I miss her now? And then, you know, that's kind of the moment that I think, you know, he ultimately forgives himself. You know, Jack struggles a little bit more throughout the movie of, you know, he's trying to do things to either buy forgiveness or earn forgiveness or whatever the case may be. And he doesn't really, you know, definitely doesn't get there until the end of the movie. But I would say that's the major theme of this movie is forgiveness. There's plenty of opportunities where, in particular, Jack continues to do something that's wrong or continues to do something that's, you know, either ill-informed or because of his ideas of, well, these homeless people are weird and crazy and I can't believe I'm on a first name basis with some of these people, you know, that kind of stuff. And he's still thinking that way until much later in the movie. And that's when he truly starts to redeem himself, is when he's not seeing it as, you know, I'm on this level and these people are on this level. It's more of a, you know, we're all broken. We're all broken. Doesn't matter how much money we have or what kind of clothes we wear. We're all broken. I used to have a poster up in my classroom, and it was something along the lines of, what is the quote? It's everyone is going through a hard battle. So something along the lines of everyone is dealing with some kind of hard battle in their life. So be kind to everyone.
Yeah.
And I think that would probably sum up the part of the message of this movie is a big piece of it is forgiveness, but the other piece of it too is just realizing that, you know, it really doesn't matter what floor you live on, you know, in a New York City high rise, or it doesn't matter what your job is, and it doesn't matter what kind of clothes you wear or what car you drive. It's that there are problems everywhere. So,
yeah,
you know, because I think you do get a pretty strong current of Terry Gilliam wanting to give some kind of message related to homelessness as well, since that's such a big part of this movie.
Right.
You know, so I think that's probably kind of a secondary stream that runs through this movie.
Yeah. You're getting some empathy. You know, they want you to give some empathy or have some empathy.
Yeah.
What's the phrase? I'm going to butcher it, but for the grace of God, go I, you know, I mean, it's like that kind of an aesthetic.
Yeah. Which is interesting to have watched this movie now, because we have, you know, I've mentioned a few times on the show that you and I, you know, tend to share fairly similar beliefs in terms of our faith. And we've recently, our group of friends, we've been kind of going through and talking about the idea of forgiveness. You know, and how do people show forgiveness? What does true forgiveness look like? You know, who do we forgive? If we need forgiveness ourselves, how do we seek that out? So it was interesting to watch this movie and that being one of the major themes of it that I'm sure I caught watching it before, but I really caught this time because we had been for several weeks now. We've been kind of talking about that topic,
right?
You know, and talking about, you know, what does that look like, and even, you know, some challenging questions of like, you know, instances of if a truly terrible person, and sometimes they'll go to the extreme and use Nazis as the example.
Right.
You know, what if
Right.
Nazis asked for forgiveness at the last moment before they died? You know, are they worthy, or are they do they have the same forgiveness available to them that we have to us? And so it's been, you know, asking some of those questions and talking through, you know, well, what is our belief around the idea of forgiveness, and who has access to that forgiveness, and yeah, so it's just been kind of interesting to be talking about that outside of this movie, and then come to a movie where that's kind of the, you know, the major theme.
No, man, I agree. So now we're going to become that podcast and say like, oh, well, what did you come up with the Nazi question? Obviously, it's the age old, you know. I mean, now my brain's racing, my curiosity's, you know. But no, it's like that. I was talking about.
As long as they're not Illinois Nazis, I hate Illinois Nazis.
That's right, I hate Illinois Nazis. I was talking about that with a friend of mine, and I had, you know, was reading, and it was about a situation in a war where, you know, the term collateral damage, or you know, civilians, you know, a village was destroyed and whatnot, and it was something that was accidental, right? It wasn't like you know, like a war crime or something of that nature. And the commander went to the village and had to go, you know, ask for forgiveness. And the interpreter was like, "Oh no, just ask for forgiveness. They'll forgive you." You know, and he was like, "Really? Like, I can't, you know, I couldn't you know, he was writing that he couldn't fathom that." And the individual went on to say, this interpreter went on to say, "No, though, that's a cornerstone of the faith that the people in the village had, was that, you have to forgive, because that lets them let go. And then now they're not harboring that evil inside them."
Right.
You know? And I was talking to my friend about that, and my friend Brandon is a very wise person, a very good friend, and he was like kind of breaking it down for me. I'm like, "Oh yeah," like he broke it down, and you know, in our discussion, it made more sense. Well, not made more sense. You know what I'm getting at, right? Like it just kind of helped frame it out, and it was like, "Oh yeah," you know. So that means that you're no longer carrying that burden if you're the one that does the forgiving. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't know, but that's a hard deal.
Yeah. Well, and that part of it is, you know, some of the things that we've been talking about related to forgiveness is that, yes, it frees up, it unbinds you as the person who does the forgiving, because otherwise you're bound to whatever it was that was done as an offense. You know, whether you mean to or not, you're bound to that by holding a grudge. You know, I think that's perfect imagery, holding a grudge. You know, you're holding on to something. But you're not only giving forgiveness to the person that needs it, but you are unburdening yourself of some of the connection and the you know, being bound to it that comes along with. You're also, you know, in our faith, you know, a lot of times it's about serving others, and that's one of the phrases we came up with was that's almost like its own way of serving another person, is to show forgiveness, is to grant forgiveness for something. You know, and that ultimately, you know, one of the things that we kept talking about is that of all the different things, something like forgiveness is very, very unnatural. You know, it kind of goes against what we think of as being human nature. You know, you don't typically see in the animal kingdoms, you don't typically see forgiveness happening. You know, if you know, one attacks another, then you attack them back, or you stay away from them, or whatever the case may be. But you know, there's not a whole lot of forgiveness is not something that comes naturally or comes easy.
Right.
That a lot of times it's the opposite of what we want to do. It's the opposite of what we feel like our natural response would be. And so, so I think, especially looking at it in this movie, and that's why I think it's so difficult for Jack in particular, is his natural instinct is, well, and especially, the life he's lived, he's been wealthy, he's been popular, he's been a celebrity. So in the life he's lived, it's, well, I can throw money at this and then the problem will go away. Like, because forgiveness is hard. Like, if I needed to seek out forgiveness, that means I'm going to have to face people that I wronged. That means I'm going to have to do the hard personal work of looking them in the eye and asking for their forgiveness. And it's just, there's so much of that is so difficult that I think a lot of people, you just shy away from it because you don't want to do the hard work. It's just easier if I can avoid it. Or in his case, it's just easier if I can buy it off. Can I give the guy some cash and then we'll be squared away. We're good. But it's a much harder and more lengthy process than that sometimes, I think.
Yeah. It's hard.
And
you don't necessarily have everyone on the sidelines going, yeah, man, keep going. More often than not, you got the people going, dude, take him down. Don't think why are you being so weak? Attack. Yeah.
Well, and the one thing that we had been talking about too was one of the other points about forgiveness is that really when you go through that process of forgiving someone, if you were the person that was wronged and you need to be, and you are the one that's offering that forgiveness or responding to a request for forgiveness, then one of the things that when we talked about this, that in some of the materials we were reading, that it really, what makes it also difficult is that going through that act of forgiveness brings you alongside the person who wronged you. It kind of brings you both on the same level, to the point where even if that person did something truly terrible in this movie, he got his wife killed. I can't imagine how I would feel if I met someone that I knew was almost directly responsible, well, indirectly, but almost very directly responsible for the death of my wife. If that happened and I confronted that person, I think my first natural reaction would not be, well, I'm going to come alongside this person and I'm going to offer them forgiveness so that he and I can be on the same level with each other. And a lot of times when someone has wronged us, especially in such a heinous way as this, is you don't want to be on the same side as that person. You want to oppose that person. You want to have power over them to make up for what they took away from you. And I think that's what makes forgiveness messy. And what makes it so difficult for Jack in this movie is, well, Parry's weird and he's homeless and he's dirty and he's poor. And why would somebody like Jack want to come alongside him and become an equal?
Right.
Which is why I think that's another way that it makes it so difficult for him. If Parry was still a college professor, if Parry was still a professor of literature, and they could meet and talk to each other on the street as economical equals or intellectual equals or whatever, then Jack wouldn't have learned as much as he did in the rest of this movie, but that might have been a little bit easier thing rather than you were this wealthy, successful celebrity, and now you have to bring yourself to the same level as a semi-insane homeless person in order to get the forgiveness and redemption that you're looking for.
Right.
I like this movie.
I like this movie.
Yeah.
I'm still not talking about the movie. I'm still no,
that's fine.
And for me, it's like you can't throw a switch. You got to keep working at it. You got to convince yourself, which is, I think, what you saw the Jeff Bridges character. Yeah. He's talking, and now it's like, no, I got to do this. Like he's you would have to constantly be working and telling yourself almost like mantra, like, to try and get yourself on the right page, I would think, to get in that mindset to be able to forgive. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's easy for me to sit here and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to be a lot more forgiving of my kids if they're whining a little bit about having to put video games away, or, okay, at work, like stuff goes a little crazy, goes a little crooked. It's easy to hold a grudge and remember like that the next time. No, but it's easy-ish to be like, okay, no, I'm just going to forgive the people I work with. Hey, it's okay. I know you didn't mean anything by it. Go on. And you see someone die horrifically, being shot to death in front of you. Boy, that's not like something me personally, you could just throw a switch and suddenly you're in forgiveness mode.
Right.
And I think that scene was just so awful. I mean, incredible scene, but just what it depicted was so awful.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and Parry is continually chased by the Red Knight throughout this movie. And that's, anytime it seems like the Red Knight shows up, anytime he's about to have some kind of genuine emotion or, any kind of return to who he used to be, anytime he even gets kind of close to something like that. The whole scene where he and Lydia are walking back to her apartment, and that's when he has probably the most intense vision of the Red Knight, is after he's kind of unburdened himself. She runs through that whole thing of, well, I know what you're planning to do. You're walking me home, and you're going to come upstairs, and you're going to have some coffee. And he keeps going, I don't even like coffee, so it's not a thing. And she's like, then you're going to want to sleep over, and then in the morning, you're going to be distant, and you're not going to call, and I love that scene, because then he kind of gets to he's like, okay, what I need you to do right now is just shut up.
Yeah,
just shut up.
Yeah,
it's like, first of all, I don't like coffee. Second of all, and then he starts going through the whole thing. He's like, I need you to kind of slow down here, because we've gotten together, we've slept together, and we've broken up all in the span of 30 seconds. So I need you to just shut up for a minute and give me a chance to let you know that that's not who I am, and that's not what my intentions were, and none of that. And then he goes through and he lays out, his feelings and everything. And this is what Robin Williams does so well. And why
I know what you're saying, and I totally agree.
Yeah. And he can flip back and forth between zany, crazy, insane character to one of the greatest actors ever.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a couple of different interviews. I was able to catch some interviews on YouTube of, different people who had worked on this movie together, and to a person, I think Terry Gilliam said, Mercedes Ruehl, Jeff Bridges, pretty much everybody said the same thing. They said, you know what? Jeff Bridges, I think, was actually the one that said it. He said, I was intimidated to work with Robin Williams because he's such a comedic genius. And he said, but I was totally wrong. He's not a comedic genius. He is an amazing actor. And it just so happens that comedy is one of the tools that he knows how to use best. But even beyond that, comedy is just one piece of him, and the things that he can do as an actor, even beyond comedy, are just that's what makes him one of the best. And
go ahead. I interrupted you.
I was just going to say, this movie in particular, I think, shows his ability, because this is right around the time when he was doing Good Morning Vietnam and Dead Poets Society and all of those, where he is flipping that switch between manic, crazy personality and dramatic actor, and doing it in such a way that it's not jarring for the audience. It's, wow, this guy is good.
And he is so good at showing vulnerability.
Yes.
Like, he can portray someone that is exactly like this, hurting, and just vulnerable.
Yeah.
And he does this in so many of his movies, and it's a look, it's a a head nod, a body position, a body language thing. But yeah, he is. Yeah, Robin Williams is pretty amazing.
He can go in the same breath. He can go from telling one of the dirtiest jokes you could probably imagine to having this childlike innocence on his face, and you completely believe both of them.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah. And that's what makes me sad that he's not here anymore.
That realization, and, you know, boy, I'm not the guy to like make sense of that, but that realization that Robin Williams and what happened to him, and then seeing some of this in the movie, it was, you know, it was sobering to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
Very sad. Very sad.
Well, and you just knowing how he dealt, you know, knowing how he was dealing with depression and going through all that, and then seeing, like you said, like the vulnerability of the parts that he played as an actor, you just look at that and you just go, like, man, I wish some of the happy Hollywood endings that had happened in his movies had happened for him as a person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because in most of his movies, even though he's dealing with depression or dealing with, you know, some other kind of, you know, mental stress or anything like that, it, you know, for the most part, in most of his movies, it works out okay in the end. And you kind of wish that for the guy, that he would have gotten the, you know, semi Hollywood ending, and that it wouldn't have ended the way that it did.
Yeah. And how many of those movies was he just not acting in?
Right.
Yeah, it was an amazing movie. And yeah, he's an amazing actor. Him and Jeff Bridges together, that was excellent.
Oh yeah.
That was so great.
Well, as I said, I was looking at some of the different, I was catching some interviews that some of the other folks had done, and you know, Jeff Bridges came in, and he was, you know, he's not, I wouldn't say necessarily a serious actor, but definitely more serious than Robin Williams. And Terry Gilliam, having been a member of Monty Python, in one of the interviews, Terry Gilliam was saying, you know, it's great to have Jeff Bridges there, because he kind of like, he would like make sure that, you know, everybody got to work and did what they needed to do. And like, he brought some of the seriousness to it. He's like, because if it was just me and Robin, like, we would be like, woo, like way up in the clouds, you know, doing our thing. And, you know, sometimes it was Jeff Bridges that brought us back down to earth. And, you know, but they also said that there were times where it would be, I think Jeff Bridges told a story. He's like, yeah, there were some times it was like 4:00 in the morning, and we were still working. It had been a 16-hour day for us. We were still filming something. And he said, everybody was tired. Everybody was ready to go, you know, go home and go to sleep. And he said, but there would be like, those would be the times when Robin would all of a sudden just start, you know, he'd break out a character, and he would just start like roasting every person on the cast and crew, you know, just for fun, and like making fun of each person in a good natured way. And, and Jeff Bridges said, you know, most directors would get angry, and they'd be like, hey, cut it out. We got work to do. We got to finish. He's like, Terry Gilliam just basically stepped back and let Robin do it, because once Robin was done, and not only that, he'd encourage him. He's like, hey, you forgot about the cameraman over here. What about that guy? And, you know, the catering guy is over here. Make fun of him too. And you know, Jeff Bridges said that actually gave us the energy that we needed after these, you know, 16, 20 hour, whatever days, at 4 a.m. to get these scenes done. And he's like, I think he made the comment. He's like, I don't know that I've worked on a movie like that since.
Right. It's just, he had that gift, man.
Yeah. All right. Before we go into 3 questions, we got anything else we want to say about The Fisher King?
It's magnificent. See it. I'm so happy I did.
Yeah, if you have not checked this one out, even if you're a little weirded out by some of Terry Gilliam's camera work and things like that, this one is definitely worth a watch. You know, you definitely give it a shot. I know sometimes I've talked with friends before that are a little off put by Terry Gilliam's filmmaking style, but this one is definitely worth it. So if you can give it a chance, I highly recommend watching this one if you have not already.
Agreed. 100%.
All right, Patrick, I think it's going to be time for 3 questions.
I think it's time for 3 questions, John. 1, 2, 3.
He asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions.
It's impossible to answer.
Impossible because you don't know the answer.
Nobody could answer that question.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
All right, 3 questions. And question number 1 is, what is your favorite Terry Gilliam movie that is not a Monty Python movie?
John, I'm going to let you go first.
Okay. For me, overall, if I were to take every aspect of the movie, from the directing, the visuals, the cast, the acting, the everything else, I would probably say this movie.
All right.
I would say this movie. The one, if I'm just going purely on, I could rewatch this thing multiple times back to back. I love the story. I love all the other stuff. I would say 12 Monkeys.
Yeah, I might just steal your answer because that's kind of how I feel too.
Okay.
I mean, I really enjoyed Brazil.
Yeah.
I enjoyed The Adventures of Baron Munchausen.
Sure.
What's his name?
Munchausen.
Munchausen. Yeah. I really enjoyed that one too. I got to go back and see Time Bandits. I saw it too young. I didn't quite frame like, oh, this is what he's shooting for. Right.
Yeah.
But I'm going to share your answer because I think, yeah, man, Daily Double. I think we got it.
There we go. Yeah, Baron Munchausen. I mean, we watched that one repeatedly as kids. So, I mean, I do love that one too. But yeah, it's just if I now, as an adult, 12 Monkeys is the one I'm going to rewatch more often. But quality wise, best movie, probably got to be this one.
Agreed.
All right, question number 2. It's 1991, and you've just won a prize where you get a free video store membership. What's the first VHS tape you are going to rent? So given that time frame, it is 1991, so you can't rent anything that's from 1992 or newer.
Right, I can't say Matrix. I'm gonna go Commando. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, you're gonna go Commando, but what are you gonna rent?
There it is, man. There it is. I'm gonna rent Commando. I'm going back. That was such a great movie.
Hold on. You saying that you're going to go Commando? I think we need to use the new soundbite we got.
That's extraordinary. What would you like to do next?
I'm glad we've got the soundboard.
There we go. All right. So you're going to rent Commando. Okay.
I'll rent Commando because
okay.
I remember always passing that at the Blockbuster, seeing that cover and being like, man, and then not seeing that movie till we did it for the podcast and being like, why did I wait this long? So yes, Commando.
Okay. I realized I need to look this up real quick. Oh no.
Oh, what's wrong?
Okay.
It's a 92 movie.
It wasn't on VHS until 92.
Oh, shoot.
So I can't rent it.
Rocketeer?
My easy answer was going to be Rocketeer. Rocketeer did not come out on VHS until February 5th, 1992.
Uh-oh.
Oh, son of a monkey. All right.
All right. John's going to have to do a little play action here.
Okay. We're going to have to audible this one. John is going to go with, what is John going to go with? Well, let's see. And if it's 91, do I have to go with how old I would be at the time? I was 10 years old at the time. Huh. Well, that is a bit of a pickle.
Are you in a pickle?
I am. This is me in a nutshell. This is what am I doing in this nutshell? Well, this is such a bloody big nutshell.
What are you thinking, man? Are you thinking Willow, or are you thinking?
I might. You know what? At that age and at that time, I might be going Willow.
You haven't seen Aliens yet?
No, haven't seen Aliens yet. Haven't seen Alien yet. I haven't seen any of them yet. I didn't see those until we moved to England.
Okay.
And that was the first time I watched those. So yeah, really at this point, if it's 1991, I'm going to turn 11 in December of 91. So at this point, I really haven't seen any of the more adult movies that I would see like in the next year or two.
Okay.
So none of the Terminators, the Predators, the Aliens, the RoboCops, any of that stuff. I'm going to let's go with Willow.
There you go.
At the time.
Nice.
At the time, I think it would have been. I'm also trying to think if I'm renting it from the video store, like what did we have at home that I would already have that I wouldn't need to get at the video store. But I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to either say Willow or I'm going to say Batman 89.
Oh, Batman 89. Dude, you know what? That's so ridiculous that I said, well, I don't know. Batman 89. I wasn't even thinking.
Yeah.
All right.
Commando's a good one, though.
Yeah, Commando's a good. Yeah. We got the good movies up there. We're good.
You can go Commando. I don't mind.
There.
Okay.
I fight crime in a rubber suit. Okay, question number two. Whatever.
To which I respond. You know what we didn't do? We didn't end up singing the Lydia song.
We did not sing the Lydia song.
The Lydia, oh Lydia, say have you met Lydia? Oh Lydia, the tattooed lady. She has eyes that folks adore so, and a torso even more so. Lydia, oh Lydia, that encyclopedia. Oh Lydia, the queen of tattoo. On her back is the battle of Waterloo. Beside it, the wreck of the Hesperus too. Yep. You can learn a lot. I was surprised that Kankakee got mentioned.
Kankakee got mentioned.
You can learn a lot from Lydia. She can give you a view of the world. In a tattoo, if you step up and tell her where. For a dime, you can see Kankakee or Parry, or Parry, or Washington crossing the Delaware. Oh Lydia, say have you met Lydia? And that was the original. I think was it Groucho Marx?
That I don't know. You'll have to educate me on the original.
Okay. I feel like the original singing of that was on the Marx Brothers show.
Okay.
Yeah. I also think the Muppets did a version, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Well, if the Muppets did it, I'll have to search that up.
Oh, yeah. Actually, here, hold on. Yep.
Here it comes.
Okay, here we go. Ask and ye shall receive.
We're going to have a great show for you tonight. And matter of fact, right now I'd like you to meet another friend of mine. Her name is Lydia. Hit it. Lydia, oh Lydia, say have you met Lydia? Lydia, the tattooed lady. She has eyes that folks adore so, and a torso even more so. Lydia, oh Lydia, that encyclopedia. Oh Lydia, the queen of tattoo. On her back is the battle of Waterloo. Beside it, the wreck of the Hesperus too. Proudly above waves the red, white, and blue. You can learn a lot from Lydia. La da da, da da da, la da da, da da.
Yeah. So anyway.
Fun tune.
So you know when the Muppets got it. Yeah, but I think the original might have been the Marx Brothers.
All right.
So I think there might be one here. If we get past the ad on YouTube, there we go.
Well, Grammarly or something needs to sell its wares.
Right. No, this was that creepy mirror that you can exercise in front of, and it talks to you.
Oh, that's great. That's what everybody needs.
I keep seeing those. I feel like that was in a Freddy Krueger movie, so I don't really want to do with that.
Yeah.
All right, let's see here.
Glorious creature under the sun. Thais, Dubari, Gabo, rolled into one. Oh, Lydia, oh Lydia, say, have you met Lydia? Lydia, the tattooed lady. She has eyes that folks adore so, and a torso even more so. Lydia, oh Lydia, that encyclopedia. Oh Lydia, the queen of tattoo. On her back is the Battle of Waterloo. Beside it, the wreck of the Hesperus too. And proudly above.
Yeah, so I think that might be the original, because I was looking it up, and I think the song was first written in the late 30s. So
Okay. Yeah.
So.
I don't know if anyone coming before that would have done it.
Yeah. All right. So last of the three questions. Question number 3. Do you have a favorite Arthurian legend?
Man, I wish I could play the deep cut. You probably have like 10 of them. Like the one I like is just the idea of the sword and the stone, and the person that's worthy can pull it out. And I mean, that's kind of like goes something similar you get with Thor's hammer. And I just like, it's so cliche. That's probably the low hanging fruit one that everybody mentions, but that's just, I just like that idea. The whole, if you build it, they will come. You got to be worthy. I don't know. I think that's cool.
Yeah.
What do you got, John?
I'm going to go with one of the stories that I enjoyed in one of my classes in college as we were reading through some of the different Arthurian stories. I'm going to go with Sir Gawain and the Green Knight.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that one.
Okay.
So do you know the story of that one at all?
You know what? I was just about to say, I remember reading it,
yeah.
In literature, but give me the play-by-play.
I'm actually gonna, because I know just me doing it from memory is not going to do it justice. So I pulled it up here in a couple of different places. Let's do. I do Wikipedia here. That's easy enough. So basically, the basic idea is in Camelot, King Arthur's court is exchanging gifts and waiting for feasting to start on New Year's Eve. The king asks to see or hear of an exciting adventure. A gigantic figure, entirely green in appearance and riding a green horse, rides unexpectedly into the hall. He wears no armor but bears an axe in one hand and a holly bough in the other. Refusing to fight anyone there on the grounds they're all too weak, he insists he has come for a friendly Christmas game. Someone is to strike him once with his axe on the condition that the Green Knight may return the blow in a year and a day. So basically, did you ever watch How I Met Your Mother?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so basically this is like the Arthurian version of the slap bet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Where was it Marshall and Barney would they would do the thing where they, one of them could get slapped once really hard, or once really hard right now, or 5 times over the course of whenever, and so then they would like dole out these slaps at different times.
Right. Okay.
That's kind of like Sir Gawain and the Green Knight.
Understood.
But anyway, the idea is that someone can strike him once with his axe, but then he can return the blow in a year and a day. The axe will belong to whoever accepts this deal. King Arthur is prepared to accept the challenge when it appears no other knight will dare but Sir Gawain. youngest of Arthur's knights and his nephew, asks for the honor instead. The giant bends and bares his neck before him, and Gawain neatly beheads him in one stroke. However, the Green Knight neither falls nor falters, but instead reaches out, picks up the severed head, and mounts his horse. The Green Knight, which is not really how you want your New Year's Eve party to go, but the Green Knight shows his bleeding head to Queen Guinevere, while it reminds Gawain that the two must meet again at the Green Chapel in a year and a day before the knight rides away. Gawain and Arthur admire the axe, hang it up as a trophy, and encourage Guinevere to treat the whole matter lightly. As the date approaches, Sir Gawain leaves to find the Green Chapel and keep his part of the bargain. Many adventures and battles are alluded to. He comes across a splendid castle where he meets the lord of the castle and his beautiful wife, who are pleased to have such a renowned guest. Also present is an old and ugly lady, unnamed but treated with great honor by all. Gawain tells them of his New Year's appointment at the Green Chapel and that is only a few days remaining. The Lord laughs, explaining there is a path that will take him to the chapel less than 2 miles away, and proposes that Gawain rest at the castle until then. So Gawain does. The Lord proposes a bargain to Gawain. He goes hunting every day, and he will give Gawain whatever he catches, on the condition that Gawain give him whatever he may gain during the day. Gawain accepts. After he leaves, his wife visits Gawain's bedroom and behaves seductively, but despite her best efforts, he allows her nothing but a single kiss. When the Lord returns and gives Gawain the deer he killed, Gawain gives a kiss to him without divulging its source. The next day, the lady returns to Gawain, who again courteously foils her advances. And later that day, there's a similar exchange of a hunted boar for 2 kisses. She comes once more on the 3rd morning, but once again her advances are denied. She offers Gawain a gold ring as a keepsake. He gently but steadfastly refuses, but she pleads that he at least take her sash, a girdle of green and gold silk. The sash, the lady assures him, is charmed and will keep him safe from all physical harm. Tempted, as he may otherwise die the next day, he accepts it, and they exchange 3 kisses. The lady has Gawain swear that he will keep the gift secret from her husband. That evening, the Lord returns with a fox, which he exchanges with Gawain for the 3 kisses, and Gawain does not mention the sash. The next day, Gawain binds the sash around his waist. Outside the Green Chapel, only an earthen mound containing a cavern, he finds the Green Knight sharpening an axe. As promised, Gawain bends his bared neck to receive the blow. At the first swing, Gawain flinches slightly, and the Green Knight belittles him for it. Ashamed of himself, Gawain does not flinch with the second swing, but again the Green Knight withholds the full force of his blow. The knight explains he was testing Gawain's nerve. Angrily, he tells him, deliver this blow, so the knight does, causing only a slight wound on his neck and ending the game. Gawain seizes his sword, helmet, and shield, but the Green Knight, laughing, reveals himself to be none other than the lord of the castle, transformed by magic. He explains the entire adventure was a trick of the elderly lady Gawain saw at the castle, who is the sorceress Morgan Le Fay, Arthur's stepsister, who intended to test Arthur's knights and frighten Guinevere to death. The nick Gawain suffered on the 3rd stroke was because of his attempt to conceal the gift of the sash. Gawain is ashamed to have behaved deceitfully, but the Green Knight laughs and pronounces him the most blameless knight of all the land.
Cool.
So, basically, if you go stay in a castle and the lady of the castle is trying to come onto you, just say no.
Just say no.
If Nancy Reagan taught us nothing else, just say no.
You're going to have a drink. Drink your drink.
Drink your drink. Be polite.
Be polite. Go home.
Yep.
Awesome.
That's extraordinary. What would you like to do next?
Yeah. Which ironically is what Gawain kept saying to the lady of the castle.
Yes.
That's extraordinary. What would you like to do next?
Mm-hmm.
All right. On that note.
That final note.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for The Fisher King, which in and of itself is also an Arthurian legend. You can go check that one out if you have not familiarized yourself with that. But yeah, plenty of other good King Arthur stories out there too, for anybody who wants to go check them out. But that is going to do it for The Fisher King for us here this evening, or whenever you're listening. Doesn't have to be the evening time. But yeah, we are the 30-something movie podcast, and we've got some other great movies that are coming up here pretty soon. We've got, in the month of December, our Patreon is It's a Wonderful Life, which we're doing with Jason Colvin from the Surely You Can't Be Serious podcast. Then we've got Stone Cold, Night on Earth, The Guyver, My Own Private Idaho, Homicide, and City Slickers. Then in January, starting up the next year for 1992, we started off with Crime and Punishment Month. Our Patreon is To Kill a Mockingbird from 1962. And then we've got Lethal Weapon, Hoffa, My Cousin Vinny, and Passenger 57.
Oh, good stuff.
Got some good stuff to kick off January of 2022 as we enter the 1992 year on that one. So all kinds of fun stuff. If you want to catch us, go to 30podcast.com. That's our website. That's got links to our social media, to our Patreon, to all the different ways you can interact with the show and check out all the other episodes prior to this one. Yeah. So, Pat, as always, it's fun talking movies with you.
It is fun talking movies with you, John, especially really great movies.
Yes, and this is a really great one. If you have not, go check this one out. The Fisher King.
Yes.
Go get it right now. All right. Everybody, be excellent to each other. Go watch some good movies, and we'll see you back here next time.
Bye.